I am so excited to bring on Whitman Ochiai, who is a young man about to go to Cornell University, but he has not been letting grass grow under his feet as he has been producing a podcast for called, where did I lost it? Yes, Money
Money,
Ed.
yeah.
Thank you. It just kind of disappeared off my screen there, Whitman. But how are you? Welcome to the show.
Uh, Hi, Denise. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. Feeling great.
Yeah, congratulations though for what are you going to major in at Cornell?
Uh, I plan to major in economics at Cornell.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. And so tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into what you have to share with us.
Well, I'll be going to Cornell this upcoming semester. I'm very excited for that. I've been making the Money Ed podcast for since the past 3 years, since sophomore year, and um, ever since, I really have a passion for teaching financial literacy as well as, just learning more about it. I think it's an incredibly important thing to understand. It's an incredibly important thing to know, and it's an incredibly important thing to teach to others and spread.
How did you gain that knowledge or that appreciation for financial literacy at I would say at such a young age, but yeah, at such a young age?
Well, I was very, very lucky in that my parents, I had parents who were willing to kind of indulge my many, many, many questions. So, like when I'd be like, "Mom, what's the little plastic square thing that you swipe? Don't you have to give them money?" And then, my mom would be like, "Okay, this is a credit card. This is how a credit card works." Or I'd be like, "Oh, Mom, why do you have to give the government money too? We made money. You made money. Why are you giving back?" She's like, "No, Whitman, these are taxes, and taxes help keep the nation running. So we pay them because it's a duty as a citizen." But it wasn't until 2018 that it really hit me the idea to kind of create like a financial literacy podcast and like get into trying to teach financial literacy. Do you remember there's the big government shutdown
Yes.
thing? Yeah. Um, you know, living where I do, close to DC, there are a lot of stories of people in my community who, because of the rent freeze, not the rent freeze, the salary freeze, weren't able to afford things like rent, food, medicine. I know, at the time I was like, well, I know I'm only a high schooler, but I personally believe that everyone has something that they can contribute, and everyone can help work towards, solutions to like
Hmm.
problems like these. So I thought to myself, well, what can I do? So I started doing some research, and I found out that there is a significant need for financial literacy education in America, particularly for young people. Did you know that more than 70% of Americans have less than $400 on hand, not counting getting a loan or selling something?
Yeah, I mean, well, I have to say, I do know only because, and I'm cheating because I'm a journalist, so I I study these things too. But a lot of people don't know that, and they also don't realize it, particularly in a time of crisis. If they need that extra money for something, they don't have anywhere to go to get it because it's not they don't have it.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So I talked to teachers of financial literacy in my community. I spoke to economists. I spoke to people who do finance for like companies, and got their opinions on kind of what are some things that people should know by the time they kind of enter like the working world. And I decided to start making a podcast talking about these things, and
Hmm.
try and spread financial literacy like lessons and knowledge for young people.
So one of the things that I started off with is particularly, everybody, a lot of people always want that summer job, right? I
Right.
want to get a summer job. I need something to do. Really, I need money. I want to make some money. So what do you tell those young folks when they get that summer job paycheck? And right now, a lot of them are getting a little card. They're not getting a check. They don't get cash. They're getting a little card, which they can take that card that someone puts money onto someplace for someone to take money off of. So to me, that doesn't help with saving. But what do you tell young folks about what to do during the summer? What should they do with that money?
Well, I one of the most important things about financial literacy is the fact that there's no such thing as the right way to manage your money. Everyone has different, needs and lifestyles and desires, and you should mold the way you work with your money to fit your lifestyle. I think that as a general rule, it's a great idea to start saving up some money as soon as possible, particularly because if you can get it invested, or you can put in like a savings account, or especially if you invest it, you can take advantage of compound interest over time. And because that interest is compounding over time, the sooner you start saving, the more it's going to pay off in the future. So I definitely think that, if you can, take some of that money and, invest it somehow.
So my father used to tell me all the time, he said, you give 10% to the church, you give 10% to yourself. No matter how much money you get, you take 10% of that, and that's yours. Of course, I used to think that was mine to spend. He meant mine to save. But that lesson has stayed with me. Do you have anything like that you, I mean, I know you said, I agree with you that everybody's needs may be different, but is there something that you would advise to say, this is the equation or the process that you should use about what to do with that money?
Actually, what you said right there, like 10%, take 10% of your money and putting it into your savings. That's actually a really solid personal rule for for building up your savings. I think that like having 10% is kind of like a baseline saving rate is a really great idea, because it kind of ensures that no matter what happens, at least some of that money is going into a place where it's going to be able to build up and pay itself back to you in the future. So I think that is a fantastic rule to follow.
The other thing too, Whitman, which is I'm finding interesting, is that a lot of young people, well, I don't know about a lot, but there are young people who don't believe in banking institutions, right? They don't trust banks. And then also now we have cryptocurrency, right? Which is a fascinating new financial tool that especially, well, I would say young people, but it's all across the world now. Even corporations, are involved. How does that fit into your scenario? One, about the unbanked, and two, about this new currency that should young people consider engaging with.
Well, I'll address what you mentioned about cryptocurrency first, because I think it's just I think that cryptocurrency, it's definitely a very interesting new innovation. I think that as a long-term vehicle for investment, like if you want like as a way to like start building up, some savings for the future, I don't think that investing, like buying cryptocurrency, is necessarily the way to go for younger people. I do, I think that like, you should invest in, what makes you comfortable, and you should invest in what you think is going to pay off in the long run. And the thing about cryptocurrencies is that there's a lot more uncertainty about, which way, they might develop. With, for example, take a company stock. Like the value of a company stock is on some level tied to how well that company is doing. So if you think a company is doing well, or if you think it's going to do better in the future, then you can reasonably expect that the stock has a pretty good chance of increasing in value, or at the very least not decreasing. The thing about cryptocurrency is there isn't quite as as direct of a metric to understand whether or not a cryptocurrency might increase or decrease.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you hear about, like, I think it was Elon Musk tweeted about some cryptocurrency and then it like quintupled in value?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I know people who got excited about that, and then it dropped, right? It tanked.
Right. Because
So
it's just,
yeah,
they're fun, they're, interesting, but they're not really long-term investment vehicles.
right. We're kind of running out of time, but two things I wanted to ask you really quickly. One is going back to the issue of the unbanked, and what you have found are attitudes about of younger in people about banking, and then tell us how we can see your podcast or hear your podcast.
Regarding the banks, what you were saying about the banks, I find that a lot of young people, there is a bit of trepidation about getting a bank account, but I would just want to say that generally having a bank account and just having someplace secure to put your money, it's your problem. It's going to be generally a pretty safe idea, especially since nowadays there's many safeguards for the money you put in the bank, particularly after 2008. So don't worry. So I would generally say you are safe putting your money in the bank. You are safe using the bank as like a vehicle for savings and compounding and investment. If you want to listen to the Money Ed podcast, we're on a variety of platforms: SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Alexa. So you can actually, if you have like an Echo Dot in your home or something, you can just tell it to play the Money Ed podcast and you can listen to it there. Or you can just look up the Money Ed podcast on SoundCloud, and you listen to it on SoundCloud there.
Well, I am really excited about your podcast. I'm excited about your next few years there at Cornell, and excited about what you're going to do once you get out of there and become this economist or your career goals. I think it's really exciting. And that you're from, you're a home guy. You're from the area, so you know a lot about what high school did you go to?
I went to Thomas Jefferson High School.
Okay. All right. It's fantastic. Yeah. So, I mean, again, like the Olympics, we're always proud of our folks from the home team, and you're one of those. I mean, we wish you great success. Keep educating, because you're right. Financial literacy is extremely important, and you're never too young to learn it, and you're never too old to do it. So, I appreciate the time you're spending with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Denise.
All righty. Have a good one.